Hi all, this is Solar bringing another YouTube video. Today we're going to be talking about the RX 5080, the 5090, and basically what's going on the internet right now about the performance of the two latest graphics cards, right? So the two latest graphic cards, NVIDIA released a graph on their website. They have now recently changed that graph and added more information to it. This is actually a piece of Reddit. This is actually what someone done on Reddit. They basically put the performance into numbers and added the numbers to them. So the 5090, for example, here, this is compared to the 4090. 4090 is the grey, 5090 is the green. Problem we have is the fake frames, or not the fake frames, but the DLS4, where they are now saying as fake frames, and people are talking about it as fake frames. The DLS from this point onwards, where the 132% is, onwards from here, these all seem to be the DLS point 4 from what I'm reading, and basically what you want to look at is these two here. So on Far Cry, you're getting a 27.5% uplift from the 4090 to the 5090, and you get a 43.2% uplift from the 4090 to the 5090 on a Plague Tale. Problem is, you got DLSS on here as well, so they could actually be adding the DLS 0.4 to this. I don't know if the Plague Tale's got that implemented or not. Basically, what you want to look at is realistically, you got a 27.5% uplift on Far Cry 6. So if you really, if you think around 20 to 25% uplift from the 5090 to the 4090, you wouldn't be too far off. But then as we go along, we have the 5080. The 5080 here has a similar sort of thing, around the 25 to 30% mark. You do not really want to pay attention to these high numbers, right? So these high numbers are inflated fake frames, as the people keep calling them. This is on 4K, by the way. These settings are on 4K. Problem is, what you have is, are fake frames the real frames? Are they generated frames? Do you get input latency based on the fake frames that are inputted? If you go and put DLS4 on, are you going to get high input latency? It won't matter too much on games like Cyberpunk, right? But if you're playing games like Call of Duty or something like that, that can get you killed, right? That can actually get you killed a lot. But realistically, if you turn the DLS off and just have ray tracing, like Far Cry 6, you have a 30% uplift. Is that now worth the amount of money you are now going to pay for the graphics card itself? I am struggling to comprehend why that is so much. If you have a 4090, do you really need to upgrade? You need to ask yourself this. I am upgrading to a 5080 because I have a 6800 XT and I bought that in 2020. So for me, this graph here is really important, because this is what I'm looking at. It's 32% or 33% from the 4080. I've got 6800, so it's probably about 60% for me. So it's a big improvement for me. A thousand Great British pounds at the minute is a lot of money, but I only upgrade once every 5 years, so it's about £200 a year for me to upgrade, right? If I do it every 5 years. The DLSS 0.4 or DLSS 4, whatever you want to call it, to get these frames. Okay, yes, it's worth getting it if you're going to play single player games. But have you noticed they haven't added any sort of multiplayer games in here that are competitive? So they haven't added Call of Duty. They haven't added any type of multiplayer game that requires you to have input, like a good quick input. Any input delay doesn't really matter on single player games like Cyberpunk, unless the input's like crazy, which I don't think is going to be crazy, right? But it's going to be enough to get you killed on a competitive game. These are all single player games. Why haven't they added competitive games in? This is a red flag to me, because you're getting these high numbers, but there's got to be some sort of caveat, right? So input latency is the caveat from what I've been hearing across the internet at the minute. Increased DLSS, it increases the latency or increases the input delay as such. From when you press a button on your controller to when you press a button that happens in game, that actually registers in game. So realistically, if you turned it off, you're going to get about 30% increase, right? And this is on one game, so every game's different. Realistically, you're talking between 20 to 30%. Realistically, these are cherry picked by NVIDIA, remember? So these are the best of what you're going to get. So realistically, you want to take that down by at least 10%. So you're going to get 23 to 33% based on the game, realistically, right? And if we go over to the 5070 Ti, you get the same sort of performance numbers all across the board. These are all, so I said, these are all cherry picked. These are all the best of the best. So realistically, take these with a grain of salt. On, what is it, in the next 11 days, what are we on, the 19th now? So November 30th is the embargo lift for the 5080. 5090 I think is a couple of days before that, but no one's going to be, unless you are saving up and you wanted to get this for a while and you've been waiting for a while, no one's going to drop that £1,500 or $2,000 on that 5090 unless you really need it. If you like, because I am a content creator, I make YouTube videos. I record everything in 4K, and basically this is the only reason I'm looking at the 5080. I'm going from a 6800 XT. I still record everything in 4K with 6800 XT, and it does run well. The main thing I am looking at, though, so there is a content creator. This content creator is called Vex. This is where I got this information off. I'll link in the video description below to go check out his channel, because that's where I look and find stuff as well. But over here, he was talking about this this website, right? This website has got 4K, and it's got the 4090, the 7800 XT, 4080, 40 Ti, 4070 Ti, RX 7900 XT. It's got all these, and it's got average performance, rasterized percentage FPS, ray tracing, and ray tracing percentages, right? So you can go on this article, you can click on here, and it has 1080p, 4K, and 1440, right? And you can go on here and see, as you go on percentages, it's got 100% average 4090, and then you have 124%. So it rasterizes it, puts it in all averages. This is with and without ray tracing with 1440p, right? And it shows you all the information you need to know. Has all different graphs you want to look at. For, like, you got Metro Exodus, and you can go across here, and it shows you everything in numbers. If you want to see actual numbers, look at this, and it just shows you everything, right? So this is based on the 4080. The overclock makes a little difference. I mean, if you go through the article, it will tell you in description what you want to look at, but it literally tells you everything in detail you need to know. So I've got 6800 XT here. This is 100%. So if I went and got a 4090, I'll be getting an extra 65%, right, based on what I've got now. That's with a 4090. I'm not going to get a 4090. I'm going to get 5080. So realistically, if you're looking at 30% uplift from the 4080, if you look at the 4080, it's 137%. So you add sort of 25% to that, I'm getting 150%. So I'm getting roughly about an extra 50% performance increase on the average FPS for me if I went up from a 6800 XT. Right? If you're on a 4070, hover over to the 4070. And if you want to get a 4090, for example, you'll be getting an extra 75% based on that, right? And if you want to click on average ray tracing, all that sort of stuff, it shows you hover over which one you want to do. Like I'm at the bottom, I'm 6800. Ray tracing, if I wanted to get 4090, I'll get 152% extra average FPS and ray tracing, right? The ray tracing on the 6800 XT is non-existent, basically it's garbage. And that's a 1440p, by the way. You have 4K results here as well. This is just a lot, like I said, I'll link it in the video description below, and you can check this out for yourself. It's cool. This is I think it's a German website. I converted it into English, but it's yeah, it's just nice to have. It's nice to have like all the lot of performance here, path tracing. You got everything down here, and you just keep scrolling down, and it's got different articles for different things as well. So you go across. You got performance with and without ray tracing. This is with DSS FSR quality, and this is balanced. So it's got all the different ones here with the FPS averages as well, based on whatever you've got here. I'm running this at 4K, and they don't even seem to have a 6800 XT in here at 4K. But like I said, you can go across here, and it just shows you everything. And it's just really, really helpful, because if you can average it out as 30%, 25 to 30% average on top of a 4800, then, or 30% or 25 to 30% on top of a 4090, then whatever graphics card you have, all you got to do is add 30%, right? So it's pretty easy. You hover over 4070, 184% for 4090. If you're going to go from the 4070 to the 4090, then you add an extra 25 to 30% on top of that. So realistically, you've got 210%, give or take, from the 4090 on the FPF average, right? So like I said, you got 56.7 as an average FPS, 104 average as a 4090, So if you added 30% onto that, then that will be your total score. What you're roughly going to get is when you buy the 4080, okay, or you buy 5090, sorry, and you go from 4090 to 5090, right? So it's easy to work out once you actually get your head around it. And with these base, we got the base examples of the 25 to 30% uplift. Every single thing you see on FPF performance here, just add 0.25 or 0.3 to the number to get whatever you want, right? So yeah. Anyway, so here you go. We've got Call of Duty here. This is the issue I have, right? It shows you the FPS, right? But if you go and put the FPS even higher because you're gonna have that DLS4, what is the what's the input latency gonna be on Call of Duty and games like Call of Duty, right? It's gonna be, from what I hear, it's gonna be quite high, and that could get you killed. I don't know how bad it's gonna be, but yeah, I don't know. It could be really bad, and it could actually ruin your experience. No matter how high your FPS is, if you then go and press the button and then it takes too long to input, and then you die, right? Because it's a very fast-paced game and Call of Duty and stuff like that. What we're going to go over here, the main reason I want, let's go over here actually. Let's go over here. This is what we've been put together by Vex. Like I said in the video description below, will be the link for that. This is based on prices, cores, ray tracing cores, clock speed, base clock speed, everything here, right? So, for example, we have the 4080S as the 100% benchmark, right? So you're getting 5% extra, right, based on the cores, right? So for example, 4080, 9,728 cores, right? 4080 here. That's 100%. You have 1,240 or 10,240, sorry, cores. So that's an extra 5%. So you get an extra 5% cores between the 40 and the 4080. The 5080, 10,752 cores, right? So if you're going from a 4080 to a 5080, you're getting 11% more cores, right? And that's not a lot, dude. You're not getting a lot there, right? It's 11%, right? So ray tracing cores is roughly the same. Okay, so roughly the same. We've got 100% as a baseline value for 4080, and then you got the 5080, which you got 84 cores, which is 11%. Performance-wise, that isn't going to be a lot, dude. It's not going to be a lot. Okay, you go from 251 to 262. That's an extra 4%, and you go down here to bandwidth. Bandwidth, you have a bit more on the bandwidth because they think they are a different type of bandwidth. They're a newer generation of bandwidth. So you go from 100% to 134%. That might make a difference because you've got two 9th gens between the two 8th gens, right? And then you have the Forbidden West, the LSS, Far Cry ray tracing, and Plague. This is all the games. 100% base value on this, the 115. So realistically, you're only getting 15% extra performance gain on the Horizon Forbidden West, DLSS, and Resident Evil ray tracing. It's only a 15% uplift from the 4080 to the 5080. Obviously, I'm getting 5080, so this is important to me, right? But you also have 5070, between the 4070 and the 4070 Ti, between the 5070 and the 5090 between the 4090. So they've got all these stats here, and these stats have been worked out, like I said, by Vex. It will be in the video description below for his YouTube channel. And we got the wattage, total wattage to power here. We got everything, just everything you need to know. If you can work this one out, it's simple enough. It just tells you basically. So the 5070 Ti and the 4070 Ti. There's some big numbers here on the bandwidth, right? So we're going, but then you've only got a 75% bandwidth on the actual 4070 Ti compared to the 5070 Ti, but you are going from 8th gen to 9th gen. Media engines and the power draw is slightly more as well, and you have a bigger bus as well for the bandwidth as well, and the bus width is bigger as well. But yeah, so this is the issue. What we got here? 94%. What is going on here? So we've got 5070 Ti and 4070 Ti. You're actually getting less performance on your boost clock. The 100% base is for the 4070 Ti, right? You're actually getting less. They've actually lowered the clock, right? You get more AI teraflops, right? But that depends on what you're using that for. Ray tracing cores, you only get 6% extra ray tracing cores, but you get a lower clock speed, right? You have 16 gigabytes of memory rather than a 12, and you have a higher bus, right? So, but you are losing 6% of that base clock. Will that make any difference? Depends on the game, I suppose. I'm not 100% sure, but you really want to be careful if you're upgrading. If you're going to go from 4070 to a 5070, I wouldn't bother. I'd probably go from 4070 to a 5080, right? I wouldn't even upgrade if I had if I had a 4070 Ti. I wouldn't even bother upgrading at all. To be fair, if I had any of the RTX 40 series, unless you're going from a 4070 to a 5090, there's not really any point in upgrading, dude. Like, I'm going, like I said, I'm going from 6800 XT AMD, so it's going to be a massive uplift for me. But just looking through these charts and looking through these graphs, if I was in the camp where I had a 40 series graphics card, unless I was going from 4070 to 5090, I wouldn't even bother upgrading because you're not getting tons of performance. You're really not. And the cost. So at the minute, cost wise, this is in dollars, not in pounds, but it's going to be 1,200 baseline, sorry, 1,000 baseline dollars for 5080. That's for the actual NVIDIA shop itself. Retailer is going to be adding $200-300 on top of that. So realistically, you're going to be talking 1,200 for a 5080, and realistically, you're going to be talking nearly 1,000 for a 5070 Ti. Yeah, and 5080 be like $1,200. Sorry, yeah, and you're not getting your performance there, dude. You're just not, right? So the main reason I want to upgrade, you go to the NVIDIA website, and I dabble in stable diffusion, right? Generation, AI generation, photos, videos, and all that sort of stuff. I like messing about with that sort of stuff. And you go over to here on their website, it actually specifically says images are created faster now because AI generated images are faster now on the RTX GPUs. So if you don't know, there's a compatibility issue with the Radeon or AMD side of graphics GPUs trying to make stable diffusion. Stable diffusion just doesn't really run well. There is a workaround for it, but it's a pain in the ass. So it's just so much more compatible with NVIDIA GPUs basically. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm getting that just for the not so much for the playing game sort of side of things. I'm doing it for the video editing. I'm doing it for the AI generation. And it's also, NVIDIA does have quite a good compatibility sense on not only that, but also other things work on Windows as well. AMD are getting there, but they're just not nowhere near as up to par with compatibility as stuff like NVIDIA, right? They're just not. So yeah, I mean, you can go over to their website now, and if you go over to NVIDIA's website now, right, it basically says, where are we? GeForce graphics cards, 50 series. It basically says like DLSS. I wonder if I can find the original chart here. This is the original chart, right? And I think I've added this in, but as you can see, people are obviously speculated and calculated around that to then go and make these graphs to say these are roughly 25 to 30% uplift based on what they have shown themselves. And there has been leaks apparently as well for the game performance and stuff like that. But to get from 28 to 242 DLSS, right? There's got to be something here to make the input delay incredibly high. How can you go from 25 to 235 just by a press of a button, right? It is insane that would happen without any sort of latency. Now they're trying to say they can reduce the latency, and they probably can, but can they do that with DLSS 4 on, right? Because I don't think they can do it with DLSS 4 on. I think they're going to have a massively high input delay. And honestly, if you got 40 series, I wouldn't even think about doing it unless you're going to like top high end, and if you got like 4070, you're going up to 5090. Apart from that, I wouldn't even bother, right? This is just my personal take, going over all the stats, what I've seen online. unless you're doing what I'm doing and you're just upgrading from a very old, like 5-year-old GPU like I'm doing, I'm going for the hardware side of things to take advantage of the AI systems, like NVIDIA broadcast, RTX videos, all this stuff I'm going to be using. So it's very good for me to use it, right? So there's even got a creator section, you know, which is this, just to tell the creators, look, we got loads of good stuff for you creators. But gameplay wise, the people who have got 40 series, just I wouldn't bother, dude. I just wouldn't bother. And not only that, RTX games, DLSS4. How many games have DLSS4? And how many games need to have DLSS4? If you don't have DLSS4, you're not getting a massive improvement, dude. What are you getting? You're getting like hardly anything. You're getting like 15%, 20%, I think, on actual hard rasterization performance. You're not getting crazy numbers because the DLSS4 is not implemented into the game, so you're not going to be getting that performance. So this is a thing you need to think about. And 4090s are still, you can still use them for another 2 or 3 years and be absolutely fine with them. 4080s you could easily get away with another couple of years easily. Like I said, I have my 6800 XT and I'm still recording 4K videos absolutely fine, and I'm playing games at 4K roughly between 60 to 40 FPS, I suppose, on high to max settings depending on the game. And that's a 5-year-old card. That came out in 2020 and I bought it on day one. You know what I mean? So this is my take. If you have a 40 series graphics card, a higher end one like 4070 Ti, 4080, just don't bother even upgrading unless you want like the DLS4 thing gimmick, because it is just fake frames. I would not waste your money. If you are going like me from a 3, 4, 5-year-old graphics card, then either get the 4070 Ti or the 4080. A 4090, you are not going to use that performance at 4K. A 4080 and a 4070 Ti is going to be more than enough for you if you're just gaming. If you are content creation, then 4080 plus is definitely something you should go for, just because if you look over here, these 4070 Ti's and a 5070 do come with 16 gigabytes of VRAM, right? The 5070 Ti does come with 16 gigabytes. The 5070 baseline only comes with 12. If you're content creation, realistically, the 16 is a minimum. Depending on if you're editing 4K videos, if you are uploading and recording at the same time as you're playing games, like I do, 16 gigabytes is the minimum. I am using 12 to 14 gigabytes of VRAM on stuff like DaVinci Resolve while playing a game, while watching something on my third monitor. So 16 is a minimum. I think the new AMD graphics cards do come with 16 as a minimum, and I think they can go up to 20. I'm not 100% sure on that though. We'll have to look into that. But I would say if you've got 40 series graphics card, do not upgrade. Do not waste your money. I think it's a gimmick. I think these fake frames are a gimmick. But if you are upgrading from a very old graphics card, and it's not a gimmick, because even the base rasterization performance is going to outperform your graphics card, right? So that's why I just thought I'd make a video on that. I'll link a video in the description below of the creator. I've got all this spreadsheet stuff off, and go check his video out as well, because he's got some really cool stuff as well. And if you like this video, hit the like and subscribe button, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Peace.